Good morning.
Morning.
Well, I'm excited to be here. First of all, I'm very honored to be talking with you this morning. I never take an opportunity like this for granted. There was a time in my life where preaching and teaching was kind of a daily thing. And so when these opportunities come up, I try to make the most of them. And I just want to tell you how excited I am to be here. It's been a great week, hasn't it? For me. How about you?
Yes.
Got our checks? Been a great year, too. A phenomenal year. Just, I couldn't have planned it better. This morning, what I want to do is ask and answer a question. And the question is, what's the difference? What makes the difference in your business experience? What makes the difference in your life? What seems to kind of pull people along differently, enabling them to sort of turn the corner and make this thing work? What is that factor? And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, if I can put it together, it's my opinion. You may have some other ideas about what that factor is, but I want to talk about that. Before I start, I want to really kind of give a couple of disclaimers. Not disclaimers, but explanations. Number one, I have been heavily influenced by some wonderful people over the years, particularly in the last 4 years. Things kind of began to turn around in my life and my business, relationships, finances, my health. Maybe some of you all had the same experience. It seemed like 93, 94, things began to sort of turn around. I've been in the business since February of 1988, right after the Earth's crust hardened, a long time ago. Some of y'all can't remember that. But 93, 94, I've been National Marketing Director about 5 years, but I was in a place where things needed to change. I needed to change. So I've had some people. When you hear me this morning, you may hear bits and pieces of other people's voices coming through, because we all are bits and pieces of other people. Kurt and Jackie have had a profound influence in my life. I remember about 11 years ago, before I got involved in the business, she gave me some profound advice. She said, "Get a job." Boy, I didn't like that. But others have marked me along the way. I can think of four men, and I'm trying to be chauvinistic, but 4 men in their writings. Some of these men have been personally involved with me. Others have been associated with me through books and tapes. One, of course, is Dr. Howard Hendricks of Dallas Seminary, professor, my advisor, spiritual guide for years. Stephen Covey, 1988. I picked up his book in the airport. It had just come out, and I read it. It really impacted my life. The late Henry Nouwen, Nouwen, a great Catholic theologian, wrote some incredible books. Of course, you know about Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Henry Nouwen wrote Return of the Prodigal, Reaching Out, The Wounded Healer. Great books. And then Jim Rohn, in the last 4 or 5 years, has become my morning companion on the Nordic track. 30 minutes, like clockwork, every day. So those are the people who've been marking and shaping who I am. And so that's part of the piece I want to share with you. And the other one is, this is kind of a personal presentation, and I'm going to say some things that may not fit you. I know there's some of you, about half of you in the room, are just getting started in the business. You may not have even started. You're sort of thinking about starting. And so I want to be sensitive to you. So I'm kind of have some things for you all to get some direction. But for the others of you who've been around a while, maybe it's time to reload. And we're at a great time in our business. It's incredible. And now it's time to reload, get refocused, and take advantage of where we're going. But I'm going. If I say some things that may not fit, just throw it out. And if I say some things that may seem a little bit hard, think of it this way. I stepped back when I was asked to do this. Step back and I thought, what have I been telling myself for the last 4 or 5 years that has redirected my life? What are the things that I've kind of incorporated into my life that have made such a difference? So I'm really kind of having a conversation with myself as I speak to you, okay? So if you feel like I'm kind of mean or stepping on your toes, just say, well, he's pretty rough on himself, isn't he? Just kind of take it that way. It's not personal because I don't know you. Get to know you and I'm going to be mean to you personally. Just give me some time. But this is not personal. So, got a few notes up here. Be out of here in a couple hours. And it's not working. There it is. Redirections first. No. The factor. I make sure I cover this up. It's a secret. That's all I tell you. Can you see it? What is the factor? What is the thing that makes the difference in your life and your business? We're going to narrow it down a little bit to your NSA Juice Plus business. But let me tell you, this gets into every area of your life. But I'll make it sort of business-oriented this morning. And what is it that, we make a list of names and we look for people that have certain characteristics that we want to bring into the business or introduce to the business. And, things like, let me just name a few, and we could probably have some feedback. But, you think of people skills. Is this the factor? People skills. Harvard Harvard Business School said that success in any enterprise is basically dependent 15% upon your technical knowledge and 85% upon your people skills. That's true, isn't it? Think about it. Is that the factor? Another one would be communication skills. People skills is sort of that one-on-one thing, and communication skills may be the ability to get up in front and talk and craft words and communicate, get through to people. That's important. Credibility is really important. I mean, really important. A person knows a lot of people, and they know him. They pick up the phone. Hey, this is Joe. Joe, good to hear you. They want to know. They want to know what Joe's doing. Boy, you find someone like that. Some of you found some people like that, haven't you? And it's so easy. They just say, "What's going on? I want to be a part of what you're doing." That credibility is so important. A teachable, and here are the things we always hear: teachable attitude. So important. These are all important factors, aren't they? That willingness to learn, good work habits. I look for those things in people, and they show up or don't show up pretty quickly, don't they? And a willingness to go to work. Now, if you can kind of put this in like a spokes of the wheel, then you have the hub. I contend that all those things are factors, but I don't think they are the factor. I think you could take out, I've had some really successful people in my group who don't necessarily have some of these things when they started. I remember when Kurt started, 24 years old, watching him get up in front of a group. It was painful. It was really painful. But he's grown, hasn't he? But you would say, well, communication skills, some people skills, But, there are people that are still around who didn't have all those things, but they're still around. So for me, if you take the thing I'm going to tell you, if you take it out as the hub, the whole thing collapses. You can have the people skills, the credibility, teachable attitude, all these things, and if you don't have this thing, I think it won't work. You won't work. And so the factor, I believe, is persistence. And I want to define that for you a little bit this morning. I'm going to give you this. I've looked up a lot of thesauruses and dictionaries. You know, it's always good to look up the definition of a word. Persistence. And here it is. Stubborn continuance. Here's one of the better ones. Steady adherence to a course of action, a belief, or a purpose. An uninterrupted course. Here's some verbs that kind of go. To endure, to be tenacious, to be unremitting, to last. That's important. Need to last. Read this quote from Jacques Cousteau. He said, "Every morning I wake up saying, I'm still alive, a miracle. And I keep on pushing." Just keep on going. To hold firmly and steadfastly to a purpose or state or an undertaking despite obstacles, warnings, or setbacks. You're doing what? You're doing one of those things? Yeah. And it's kind of like, you know, the Apostle Paul said, these 43 things I do. No. He said, this what? This one thing I do. Just that persistent. Hang on, persevere, hold out. That's kind of the, you get the feeling for those words? Do you feel that's inside of you? Then there's the, that's the verb. Persistent, the adjective. Same thing. Continuing, especially in the face of opposition. Continuing to endure, constantly repeated. It's the ant philosophy. You ever watch the ants crawling around? They just keep going, don't they? They're over here and they go back. They just keep going, and they get to where they're going until. Every year about this time, I go and help Sally, my wife, who's a third grade teacher. And we set up the chairs and get the books lined up and so forth. Those chairs are so little. You know? Ever notice how small those third grade chairs are? They don't want them hanging around. You know, they don't want, you know, you got to get out of there, go to the fourth grade. Well, what you have here, y'all have heard the story of Abraham Lincoln too. And I didn't bring that litany of things that he attempted to accomplish. Have you ever seen that litany? This long list of things he pursued and lost and so forth, and then we know what happened. And this is what I think is a great definition of what we're talking about here. Abraham Lincoln said, "Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing." He agrees with me. He agrees with me. It's nice. So pay attention. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing. Wow. Now, saw a thing in a newspaper not long ago talking about a new book called The Adversity Quotient. Didn't read the book, but I read the article about it. It talks about what happens to people that we are in the age of overcoming adversity. In the 90s, more than any other time, it's a time to get past adversity and make things work. And he came up, this particular author, came up with 3 characteristics or 3 qualities of people that kind of fall into the adversity quotient description. And I'm kind of stealing them to describe the persistent quotient, if you will. And this is what he came up with. Three groups of people: quitters, climbers, or campers, and climbers. Now, obviously, no quitters in this room, because you're here. I mean, just think about what you've done to be here, 12 hours, 8 hours, flying. The Natchez Trace at midnight. Sounds kind of exciting, doesn't it? All of you done a lot of things to get here, so you're not quitters. In fact, some of you can't be quitters because you haven't really started. You know, you can't be a quitter unless you started something. And there's some people in my organization who hadn't started. So they're not quitters. They couldn't be. And that's true of a lot of us. But here's why the quitters, you know what they are. And the campers, though, the campers are those who get to a place in their life or their business and they're just sort of holding on. They're sort of holding, they're not quitting, but they're not really proactively kind of getting forward. And then the climbers that are somehow getting it done. And what I want to suggest is that both the campers and the climbers can fall into can be holding on to the factor, persistence factor, but I want to suggest to you there's a way to raise your persistence quotient. So you move from that place of being kind of a camper, sort of a comfortable place, and you kind of move out of that and you begin to climb. And I think the difference, and I want to use these words carefully, the difference is that you begin to do the business intentionally. You begin to do the business on purpose. You begin to do the business consciously. I mean, how many people come into the multi-level deal and they sign up, they buy some product, it's just going to happen. It's just sort of going to, they're going to wake up one day and be a national marketing director. Because they're going to get all these people and somehow it's just going to happen. It doesn't happen that way. Campers have that mentality sometimes. Maybe something will zap you while you're here this weekend and you'll go back and it'll start happening. It won't. Something's got to happen to you. So the climbers keep going no matter what, kind of like the ever-ready bunny, But the bunny doesn't have much direction. The difference between a camper and a climber is direction, proactivity. Here's a great quote. And this is the shift. This is where you make the shift from being a camper to a climber. Henry David Thoreau said, "I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by conscious endeavor." I'm doing it. I choose to do this. Now now I'm going to talk to me. So y'all just pay attention. You can eavesdrop. This is the stuff that I've been saying to myself for about 4 to 5 years that have made such an impact, that have moved me to a different place in my life, my marriage, my relationship with my children, my finances, my health, all these things. And I think there are three major factors in moving and raising your persistent quotient. So this is for the new people, because this is what you're going to have. It's not going to be how well you understand the enzyme factor and the phytochemicals. It's going to be something much more profound. This business is an incredible vehicle for you to learn and grow. So there are three major areas. The major areas are persistence in personal direction, persistence in personal responsibility, and persistence in personal development. And that's what I want to cover in the next few minutes. First major area. Persistence in personal direction. Can't see that very well, can you? Okay. Now, about a couple hours, Linda Foster is going to give you an in-depth kind of overview of goal setting. So I'm not going to really talk about how to set goals and do this kind of thing, but I want to talk about personal direction. When you think about personal direction, you think about this. This is what you need to hear. And that is that your outcome is determined by your objectives. In other words, what you get out of this business is up to you. You choose what you want to get from the business. That's alarming and scary and liberating at the same time, because it's really up to you. Check this out. A little book I read, 9, 10, 12 years ago. A little tiny book. It's not even in print now. It's called Strategy for Daily Living. Author, name is Ari Kiev, said, "Those who lead successful lives have made a disciplined effort to systematically pursue an objective rather than to drift about aimlessly with no objective." Now, here are the two key words. Pursue. The other one is drift. At any given point in your your experience in the business, you're either pursuing an objective or you're drifting. That's called persistence in personal direction. Taking inventory on a personal level every day and knowing that I am choosing to go in this direction. So when it comes to persistence in personal direction, decide what you want. That's all we're going to talk about here today as far as goals are concerned. Decide what you want. What do you want? If you don't know what you want, you'll be sure to get it. Every time. And this has to do with goals. It has to do with deciding how much money, how quickly, when, where you want to live, what do you want to do, who do you want to see, who are you going to be with, how you want to grow, what books do you want to read. It involves all those things, but you've got to decide. You decide. Sharon and Dave Rankin and I do Prevention Plus seminars, and we call our Prevention Plus health talks, Take Charge of Your Health. Well, this is about taking charge of your life, which encompasses your health. Aristotle says the soul never thinks without a picture. So you picture in your mind what you want. And there's several good things that come out of having well-defined goals and deciding what you want. But the most important thing for me, and one of them, you get a sense of identity, you get a lot of clarity. But for me, the main thing that's happened to me in the last 4 years, it's reduced my dependence upon other people. Because this is my objective. This is not what we're going to do. It's what I'm going to do. I hope you do it with me. So it enables me, when I have that clearly defined objective, now I'm working with the people who deserve my time rather than the ones who need my time. Because my goal, my objectives are clearly defined. And real quickly, this is the way you do it. You put it on paper. See, this is a whole weekend seminar, isn't it? I mean, this topic right here is worthy of hours together. And there are seminars like that, and I encourage you to get involved with those. I encourage you to get the tapes, the books that teach you how to clearly define your goals. Put it on paper. Do it on purpose. Then go do it. And then finally, make it your passion. Don't be casual. I love what Jim Rohn says. Don't be casual. Casualness leads to casualties. Don't be a casualty. This is about your future. Goals are simply a way of creating a vision for your future, and I hope you're excited about your future, as one person said, because you're going to spend the rest of your life there. Very good, excited about it. Well, decide what you want. That's the first piece of saying, okay, I'm going to shift from that camper to the climber. I mean, you've got to do that. That may be what you decide this weekend when you hear the speakers and the teachers and the trainers and all the interactions. You come away here, and that will change in time, but you come away from here saying, this is what I want. You put it on paper. You decide to do it on purpose, and then you internalize it and make it your passion. Second major area. I'm going to get mean now. Persistence and personal responsibility. Whew. So uncomfortable. For any of us to really be free, we're experiencing in our culture today, aren't we? We've got to learn to take responsibility for our choices and our actions. I did this. It's the highest form of maturity. Write that down, that's important. This is the highest form of maturity, to take full responsibility for yourself and your check. When you take responsibility for yourself, you are moving from the outworn strategies of adolescence and moving through the doors of adulthood, whether you're 17 or 77. For me, it wasn't 17. But to take hold of that, and take responsibility, so that you're, the Negro spiritual goes like this: it's not my upline, it's not my downline, but it's me, oh Lord. Something like that. Standing in the need of prayer here, It's me. Leo Tolstoy said, everybody thinks of changing humanity, but nobody thinks of changing himself. It's this sense of it's kind of the buck stops here, If it's going to be, it's up to me. And this is an interesting little quote by Pope John the 22nd, one of my dear friends. He says, it often happens that I wake up at night and begin to think about a serious problem and decide I must tell the Pope about it. Then I wake up completely and remember that I am the Pope. So, how do you do this? First thing, stop whining. Told you it's going to get nasty. You need to eliminate whining, complaining, and blaming from your life totally. Totally. If you have what you think is a legitimate gripe, put it in writing and mail it to Elton DeBose. I don't want to hear it. If you do gripe, if you must gripe, gripe up, not down. Eliminate it. We're a society of... This is in the recent. I've been reading a lot of editorials in the paper, a lot of interesting news, as you can imagine. One person wrote, "This is a spoiled society. Nobody takes responsibility because no one is responsible. Someone else is to blame because we showed up late for work, because we failed to pay the bill, because we got pregnant out of wedlock, because we had the auto accident." That's kind of, And you can listen to your language on this thing. You can say, you can go two ways. You can say, I have no sales experience. Or you can say, I'll get the training I need. You hear the difference? You can say, I don't know how to recruit. Or you can say, I'll invest the next 90 days learning all I can about the recruiting process. You can say, the market is saturated. Or you can say, public awareness will make it easier to share the product and the opportunity. You can say, I can't. Or you can say, I choose. You can say, I have to. Or you can say, I prefer. You can say, if only. Or you can say, I will. That little shift. Stop whining. Look at the numbers. Look at your numbers. 4 years ago, my check did not reflect what it means to be a national marketing director. You get kind of tired of faking it. You finally get disgusted with faking it. Being introduced as the Pac-10 guy, My check. Oh, we were in transition, I was figuring out how to do Juice Plus. I just returned from exile in Mexico. Now, just all these things going on in my life, it really wasn't a good place, but 1994, I got disgusted, and I looked at the numbers, and you need to do that too. How many preferred customers do you have? 7. Been in the business 5 years. Yeah, we got to look at that. You see what I'm saying? Are you happy with your check? Don't answer. Don't raise any hands. It's not an invitation. Have you built that qualifying business? Based upon what we teach, see? Look at the numbers. Being entirely honest with yourself. This is not going to be public stuff. You need to get alone, go into the closet, shut the door, and look at the numbers. They don't lie. They don't lie. Oh yeah, but this is a great business and we're helping so many people. Look at your numbers. How many preferred customers? How many qualifying businesses? How long have you been a senior direct? How long have you been a sales coordinator? When are you going to move on? We have to make progress, some progress. We have to have some at least goals. We got to make progress. That's why, Sally's third grade chairs, they're so little. You got to get out of those chairs. Got to move on. Last thing, know the code. It's not John Lithgow's 10-10-3-2-1. That's the code. We have our own code. Heard that code? 22312, that's the business. That's our business, and you can take that and actually build your business around that code. I'll tell you what it is, you know what it is, and decide how much you're going to make. You can take today full responsibility, not only for yourself, but for your check. 2 years ago, I sat down and put on a little piece of paper, put scotch tape around it, and these are my goals for the next 2 years. 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 months, 20 months, 24 months. 2 years coming up October 25th. The last 6 little notches, I've made it. Every time, every goal. So how do you do that? I mean, how do you control, how do you know what's going to happen because you have all these hundreds of people in your organization? You can know. You can decide. 22312 is the virtual franchise. First 2 months, you reach senior direct. That's where you work with people. There's no guesswork. What do we do next? Well, first 60 days, nothing matters. We're going to get you to senior direct. That's all that counts. And we're going to get 20 preferred customers and build that qualifying business. I don't care if you're a doctor, truck driver, this is what we do. This is the code, baby. Know the code. Then we're going to teach 3 people to do exactly what you did, and they'll teach 3, and you'll have 12. 22312. Do that in a year. Probably be a Q&MD, making $25,000, $30,000 a year. How much do you want your check to be in the next, and say, 18 months? Think of a number. Annual income is going to be, write it down. Take $5,000 off the top. Okay? First of all, take $5,000 off the top. Divide that total by 12. That's your monthly income. And then divide that by $150. And that will tell you how many qualifying businesses you must have to make that income. Then you get to business teaching. I'm assuming your $5,000 off the top, you see, that's your qualifying business. $5,000 off the top, divided by 12. That's the amount you make per month, divided by $150, which is the average income. Average income, and mine is $151. I've done the numbers every month. It's amazing. Amazing. You know, we don't talk about our incomes and so forth, and I don't share what my income is, but I can, you know, if you wanted to sneak up on me and find out how many qualifying businesses I have, you would know within a few $100s exactly what my check is every month. Simplified now, isn't it? So you can't say, well, you know, I hope I can get there, and I hope you can do it now. You can take charge, you can pace it, you can do it. So what I'm going to do, know the code. Big statement here. Look, folks, take responsibility for yourself and your check. Well, I just can't get anybody going. Well, maybe you need to go get some new people. Here's the 22312 in a year. Can you see that? 1 year plan, 12 and 12. Qualifies as a senior direct distributor in 2 months. 20 preferred customers, teach 3, and they teach 3, you have 12. That's moving along. 12 in a year, it's pretty good. 12 and 12, I like that though. Sounds good, has a good ring to it. What you don't know, some of you, about 2/3 of you, about 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 hours into the business. What you don't know, that a lot of us know, that once you create this scenario, not 3,000 people, but 12 solid people, it's going to get out of hand. The momentum, the exponential growth will kick in. Last major factor. Now, here we go. We're wrapping this up. You've gotten your direction. The goals and objectives that will pull you through the difficulties and disappointments like a magnet. They'll pull you. They've got to be written down. They pull you along. You've got to have a lot of reasons for doing this. You've consciously decided, listen, you've consciously decided to create the outcome. And if you haven't decided, then you've decided. You decided not to create the outcome, which is just as devastating as it is exciting to create it. So that's persistence in personal direction, and then you said goodbye. You said goodbye to blaming. You've passed through the doors of personal maturity, personal responsibility, adulthood. And now you accept full responsibility for your business, your check, and your life. And the third major area is persistence in personal development. A lot could be said here, real quickly though. You attract what you are. You want successful people in the business, you become successful. You want quality people in the business, you become a quality person. You want committed people in your organization, you become committed. If you want people to bleed in your organization, then you must hemorrhage. And you got to get ready for it. You got to realize, maybe it's going to take a couple of 3 years to get this thing going before you are ready to be successful. You've got to get prepared for success. You've got to work on yourself more and harder than you do on anything else, so that when the opportunity comes, you're ready. Another great guru in our nation, Oprah Winfrey, says, success is a matter, this is good though, success is a matter of preparation meeting opportunity. As a lot of you know, I've been working with physicians like a lot of you have, and I wrote some stuff, the manual on the doctor's deal. Been with a lot of doctors. A weird bunch. And weird bunch. Humble. It's like the Pope died. Pope standing in line with St. Peter. In line, says, what is this? I'm standing in line to eat. He says, well, this is our commissary. We get our food here. And so forth. He said, what do you mean? I don't get a limousine? And then he says, no, Pope, this is the way it is, you know. And he said, one guy came rushing by, ran to the front of the line, had on a white smock and a stethoscope, went to the front of the line, and the Pope said, wait a minute, who's this guy think he is? That's God. He thinks he's a doctor. You understand, don't you? You got to get ready. So anyway, I'm going along, and I put a flyer. I put a flyer in a place where I get my hair cut, and a lady picks it up. She's not here today, but some of her colleagues are here, and she sees the flyer. Tony Brooks is in Nashville. She goes to hear him. She's a nurse. She's a nurse educator in a doctor's office. And so she introduces me to her doctor, and he kind of stonewalls me, skeptical. He looked at the materials. He finally had a chance to meet Dr. Agnew. I had about 15 minutes with him. Read over the information. This is a really brilliant way of recruiting. I left a flyer in a barber shop. Okay? This is how profound I do this business. And so he comes back and he says, what do I do? What do I need to do? And I said, I thought you'd never ask. I was ready. I was ready. And it has exploded, you see, but I was prepared for that opportunity that came together. You've got to get ready so that when the opportunity comes, you have the capacity to be successful. Don't go chasing the business, finding the big hit. Get yourself ready. It will come to you. It will come to you. So, the conclusion here is simply this. You got your goals. You're going to take charge of your life. You need to ask and answer yourself this question, and you're on your way. This is what I had to do 4 or 5 years ago. Am I willing to become the kind of person it will take to become a national marketing director? Am I willing to become the kind of person it will take to make the income, to accomplish what I want to do, to reach the number of people? That's the big question. Because you just don't show up and do it. You got to grow into it. You got to develop it, because quality, for you to have quality people, you've got to become a quality person. And I'll just close with this quote from the one I listen to a lot in the morning, Jim Rohn. Success is not something you attract by it's something you attract by the person you become. Success is something you attract like a magnet by the person you become. Instead of going to work on your people, go to work on yourself. You work harder on yourself than you work on the job. And if you become, you can attract. The whole key is to make yourself valuable, to make yourself attractive, competent, skillful, unique, willing, powerful, sophisticated, cultured, able to manage, in control, healthy. If I become 10 times wiser, 10 times stronger, 10 times brighter, 10 times more competent, think of what that will do for my success. If I grow, think of what that will do for my future. The only way to make a better and better investment in your future is to become stronger and better and wiser and more competent. And the more attractive you become, the more attractive you attract success, the more you attract success. Self-development, self-investment attracts success. That's powerful. Good words. Good words. Have a great weekend. Take charge, stop blaming, get with it, take responsibility. Woo, it's a good day to be alive, isn't it? Let's do it. Thank you.